Part 108. It is the honor of my life to meet you in this life. At the end of the year, Yi Yang saw that the literacy rate of the whole people was high. So he specially reserved a section in the newspaper column to publish a new knowledge every day. He published the knowledge of plant grafting, artificial emasculation of wheat, and artificial pollination of flowers in newspapers, and thoughtfully mark each word with pinyin, so that people can know this new knowledge. Originally, many families were afraid to experiment with their own crops until more and more land was reclaimed, and the amount of food grown increased from wheat, paddy, and vegetables to corn, potato, and other grains and vegetables. Try the artificial emasculation and pollination techniques that the newspapers say giving will pay off. The crops that have undergone artificial emasculation and pollination are indeed more harvested than before, and the people are so happy that they can't close their mouths. And they sincerely express their gratitude for building a temple for Yi Yang. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, it has been 4 years since Yi Yang came to the Holy Dynasty. On this day, he had nothing to do and returned to the original Jinyang Palace, looking at the hibiscus growing in the flowerbed, with a slight smile on the corner of his mouth. Recalling the picture of eating hibiscus leaves when I first arrived, I was both sad and funny. "Sir, these grapes should be ready to eat." Xiao Doubting walked briskly to the green grape trellis, and saw the purple grapes hanging under the vines, exuding a faint grape fragrance. He reached out and touched the full-grained grapes, and the smile in his eyes reached the bottom of his eyes. "You must know that these grapes were all planted by him. I didn't expect that after many years, I would still have the opportunity to eat the grapes that I had planted by myself." Recalling those difficult days, and looking at Yi Yang, who is now smug and confident, the smile on the corner of his mouth is getting bigger and bigger. He did not expect that in just 4 years, his young master not only received the emperor's blessing, but also took the position of the emperor's imperial concubine. Yi Yang looked at the full-grained grapes and felt his teeth sour. He shook off the goosebumps that had just popped up, and turned around and walked into the Jinyang Palace where he once lived. There was no change or a trace of dust inside, as if he had always lived here and never left. Xiao Doubting, who was walking in the back, heard footsteps coming from behind. He looked back and saw that Zhen Yi strode into the Jinyang Palace. He was about to kneel down and salute when Zhen Yi made a silent gesture to him. Xiao Doubting hurriedly stopped the words that were about to reach his lips, then hurriedly bowed and exited the Jinyang Palace very wisely. Yi Yang walked into the room, looked at the furniture in the room, and felt a sense of intimacy in his heart. Suddenly, someone hugged his waist. Yi Yang, who was used to sneak attack, did not panic. He smelled the familiar breath and asked with a smile. He said, "You're done? Well, why did you suddenly think of going back to the Jinyang Palace today?" Zhen Yi habitually rested his jaw on Yi Yang's shoulder. The tip of his nose was filled with Yi Yang's unique body fragrance, and his expression was relaxed. "It's okay if I'm done. I just walked around and just came to the Jinyang Palace, so I came in to have a look." Hearing that Yi Yang was done, a gleam of light flashed in Zhen Yi's eyes. "I'm really busy." "It's over? Well, what's wrong?" Yi Yang was a little flustered, really afraid that there would be something else waiting for him to solve. Recently, he has been busy improving the history in the textbook, and he has hardly rested. After finally completing the history textbook, he just wants to take a good rest for a few days. "Of course there is. You promised me before that when you were done, you would hold the Queen's sealing ceremony." Zhen Yi was a little aggrieved when he talked about this. "I remember that not long ago, he proposed to make Yi Yang the queen. But he was rejected by Yi Yang. His mood is flustered at that time." In the end, it was he who was soft and hard, and Yi Yang reluctantly agreed to seal the queen. Yi Yang was instantly unhappy when he mentioned the grand ceremony. Isn't this queen's position only worthy of the birth of a prince? How could a man like him sit on the queen's seat? Do you want him to be the first male queen in history? No, don't even kill it. Also, thinking of the heavy etiquette during the seal, Yi Yang directly retreated. Your Majesty, I suddenly thought. Before his excuses were finished, Zhen Yi's hands were already restless, and the threatening words were ringing in his ears. Yi Yang, if you dare to make excuses again, believe it or not, you won't be able to get out of bed tomorrow morning. Your Majesty, I have paid so much for the holy country, and there is no credit or hard work. You can't threaten me like this, or it will appear that you are too unkind to the emperor. Yi Yang, who wants to cry but has no tears, how can the emperor turn his face when he turns his face anytime as well? Zhen Yi coaxed in a tone of coaxing a child. You also know that you have made so many contributions, so should you obediently sit on the queen's seat? Don't worry. The ministers in the court and the central government have agreed, and I will choose the day. Well, this time I will accompany you through the post-confession ceremony. So you won't be tired. Have you chosen the day? Yi Yang was very speechless. This is not a discussion, this is completely an announcement. Yeah. Zhen Yi saw that Yi Yang was not objecting. His face was happy and his hands were restless. On September 9th of the 11th year of the Yangnian calendar, the whole world celebrated. And all the people rushed to the streets to congratulate each other. Because on this day, their saint finally stood up. Although the new queen is the male queen, he cannot stop their blessings. Because it is this male queen who unifies the holy country, makes them no longer hungry, and lets the children go to school for free. And Yi Yang, who was blessed by them. He couldn't help too depressed at this moment. The bright red gorgeous clothes are not only complicated, but also heavy, and the pressure is so heavy that he can hardly breathe. It seems that the clothes on his body are not clothes, but a set of heavy iron armor. Also, since it is not far from Jinghong Palace to Xingchen Palace, why do you need to circle the entire palace? Still walking so hard, he was almost exhausted. Especially the sun above his head exudes a fiery light, and the roasted Yi Yang is sweating all over his body. What kind of idiot came up with such a terrifying etiquette? If I let this lord know, I must dig your grave. Yi Yang cursed every time he took a step, knowing that today he should have proposed to abolish this unimportant etiquette. The introductory officer was still the same introductory officer from before, but today he clearly felt Yi Yang's strong dissatisfaction. And his heart trembled with fright. After all, it is too difficult to be an official now, and he does not want to lose the official position for no reason. Although Yi Yang was full of complaints, he still had a bottom line, and he would never drag innocent people into the water just because he was unhappy. So, along the way he cursed the person who invented this etiquette, and did not embarrass anyone. Yi Yang, who had been walking for almost a morning, finally reached the platform in front of the Holy Harmony Hall at noon. And Zhen Yi was already waiting in front of Holy Harmony Hall. He looked at Yi Yang, who was slowly walking towards him, and his heart was pounding. At this moment, he actually felt the nervousness of his first marriage. Today's Yi Yang is very attractive. The bright red wedding dress set off his already handsome face even more handsome. Especially the confident light radiating from his body, which is dazzling and cannot help but addicted. Yi Yang looked at Zhen Yi, who was standing at the main entrance of Holy Harmony Hall, and gritted his teeth secretly. This guy agreed to go with him, but in the end, he was waiting for him at the entrance of Holy Harmony Hall. He was so angry that he really wanted to kick his good-looking face. Under the guidance of the ceremonial officer, Yi Yang came to Jun Yi and looked at the man with extraordinary momentum and outstanding appearance in front of him. After seeing the sincere smile on Jun Yi's face, all his complaints were thrown into the clouds. Jun Yi always had a smile on his face, stretched out his hand to take Yi Yang's hand, and whispered in his ear, "Yi Yang, in this life and future life, we live in the same bed and die in the same acupuncture point." This is why he wants to stand Yi Yang is the reason behind. Because he not only wants to cling to Yi Yang when he is alive, but also clings to Yi Yang after his death, and will never be separated from life to life. Yi Yang's just rising happiness was instantly ruined by Jun Yi's words. He rolled his eyes and ignored it. Jun Yi just held Yi Yang's hand tightly and smiled happily. The group of ministers below knelt down neatly on the ground and shouted, "I wish the Emperor and the Queen 100 years of harmony. Long live the Emperor, long live the Queen, long live the Queen. His Majesty," he raised his hand gently, "all the ministers are flat. Thank you, Your Majesty." Seeing that the ministers stood up, the introductory officer hurriedly led the way, guiding the two to the Star's palace. Along the way, Jun Yi always held Yi Yang's hand tightly, and the bright smile on his face proved how happy he was at this time. Yi Yang tilted his head and looked at the handsome and extraordinary body, showing the domineering of a natural king. His heart throbbed, and the corners of his mouth rose unconsciously, revealing a happy smile. "It is the honor of my life to meet you in this life. I will go through with you in history to create prosperous Holy Dynasty for our people and live happily forever."